What's up, Boulder, Colorado? Good morning.
And you said,
Well, if
that
you're going to
goes.
point the finger, point it at me because if I'm allowing it, it should be on me, not him.
Today, we're going to do something different. Our main story is about some of the things that Coach Prime knows, but he can't say publicly after the loss. We're going to talk about some of the things that I know some of you out there maybe are thinking, but aren't hearing yet. And we're going to talk about the painful loss that happened on Friday night. Now, we've already told you guys how we love Coach Prime and how he is brutally honest. But this brutal honesty has some limits because the reality of the situation is that there are things which can be 100% true, but that would also damage the program if the head coach said them. And we're very fortunate that Coach Prime is smart enough to know what is true, but doesn't need to be said by him. So grab you a bowl of Frosted Flakes, sit back, get ready, because we're going to talk about the things that Coach Prime can't tell you. Our first story today involves defensive coordinator Charles Kelly. The first thing that we think Deion Sanders knows but won't necessarily tell you probably involves that Coach Kelly's approach may not be working. For those of you who were at the game and didn't watch it on TV, you may have missed that Charles Kelly was absolutely melting down on the sideline and losing all composure during the second half of the game. There's a fine line between a coach showing the right of fire and emotion and going over the line and causing the players to shut down and not absorb that message. And ask any captain who has to lead his men into battle, and they will tell you that you have to lead your troops. And in order to lead your troops, you have to have their respect. Now, I'm going to go ahead and apologize. You guys know that we like to keep it positive on this channel, and we do have some positivity coming later. So stick around. But we still need to get some things off of our chest because we are going to always do our very best to keep it real with you. After the game, Coach Prime was asked specifically about Charles Kelly. Let's take a look at what. Now, first off, hats off to Coach Prime here. He did what every leader should do. He took the blame. He jumped on the grenade to save Coach Kelly. But what Coach Prime can't tell you is that Charles Kelly had some defenses in the past which were suspect. So I have a quick story for you. Back in 2014, the year after Florida State won the national title with a different defensive coordinator, Charles Kelly took over one of the best defenses in the country. And that defense got progressively worse year after year under his control. The fans came to joke about the defense giving up third downs, and they called them third and Kellys. And Florida State's Jimbo Fisher refused to make a change because he believed Coach Kelly wasn't the problem. Eventually, this came to a head when Jimbo left FSU because the fan base had had enough of Kelly. And we'll note, Jimbo Fisher didn't hire Charles Kelly at Texas A&M after he went there. And now, after Coach Kelly landed in Alabama under Nick Saban as an associate defensive coordinator and safeties coach, he stayed there until he was hired by Colorado. Now, we're not going to just say that Colorado's defensive problems are 100% Kelly's fault because most defenses look like hot trash in year one. And that's common under a new coordinator, especially when a team has had this much turnover. I mean, just look at USC and Grinch this year, and this is year 2 for them. Most experts agree it takes time and continuity to build a good defense in college football, and it's far easier to build a good offense more quickly. Colorado's a great example of both of those. But with all of that said, we think Coach Prime may be seeing some of the weaknesses that those FSU teams saw in the past. That Coach Kelly may be great at understanding defense, So great that Nick Saban believed in him, but not as good when it comes to communicating what he knows to the players, and communication is everything. Charles Kelly is also an elite recruiter, and I am by no means saying that Coach Prime needs to make any kind of rash decision 7 games into this Colorado tenure. I just think it's worth noting that some of those cracks, some of those potential weaknesses are starting to show. And I think that hopefully things get corrected and Friday night is not the norm, but I think it's important to notice. Our next story is continuing on with what Coach Prime knows but can't say publicly about this loss. And before we get to it, I want to give Stanford full credit. They earned and deserved this win. But in our opinion, the referees played a huge role in the outcome of the game on Friday night. We saw Colorado get called for multiple unsportsmanlike penalties. It seemed like every big hit, there was a celebration penalty called. And every time they scored and celebrated, they called another penalty on us. I didn't know if I was watching a football game or a circus with the clown show from the officials this weekend. Even the ESPN announcers were saying that the calls were absolute trash. You can't call a penalty every time a kid celebrates making a good play. You're literally sucking the soul right out of the game. The fans are in the stadium and at home are celebrating, but the kids who worked so hard and bust their tails physically and mentally risk their physical and mental health for our entertainment can't celebrate? That makes no sense. It's like lighting the candles on a birthday cake, singing happy birthday, everyone else cheering, and then not letting the kid have a piece of the cake. It's like going on a diet, losing 30 pounds, but having to still wear your old clothes. Personally, I think they need to remove unsportsmanlike celebration penalties out of the game entirely. Now, I understand if a kid gets up in another kid's face and is pointing in his face or does something, that's not what was happening, guys. That's not even close to what was happening. And it was ridiculous to see the refs continue to interject themselves into the game and think that they were bigger than the game. I don't want to go so conspiracy theory, but the Pac-12 certainly doesn't love Colorado right now because of the fact that they were the first ones to really look to leave the conference after, of course, UCLA and USC. And it's kind of crazy that now the refs seem to be chiming in there. We'll move on from that. Our next story today starts to bring around some positivity. It's about how Coach Prime plans to go forward after this game. Let's take a listen. We love that Coach Prime pointed out that life is about adversity and that everyone has to overcome adversity in life. We love that he said there will be no pity parties. Coach Prime knows that in life, most of the battle is with yourself, not the idiot haters. Coach knows that if this team shows up and works to get just a little bit better each day, there is nothing that they cannot accomplish. They can tear down mountains. They can beat the TCUs. They can be right in it with the top 10 USCs. They can play this game, and they can play it at a very high level. Can they rebound from it? I believe so. I believe so because of their leadership. I believe so because of the man that's leading them. I believe so because of the character on this team. But it starts with not having a pity party. We didn't get on here and whine and complain and moan about, oh, we're poor us. We lost a tough game. It was the worst this, that. No, you move on. You're going to get down. Bad things are going to happen in your life and in football, and you got to keep going. Our final story today is about Coach Prime's closing thoughts during the press conference. After that 29-point comeback, you might think that Coach Prime would be frustrated and less optimistic about the future, but he wasn't.
I love this.
We love what Coach Prime said here. This game didn't change his love for the game. He's still hungry. He's just got to find the right coaches and players who love the game like he does, who will give what he gives, who will love the game the same way that he does. Listen, I don't know what you love in life. I don't know if it's football. I don't know if it's Coach Prime. I don't know if it's your family. I don't know if it's your wife, your husband, whatever. It might be soccer. I don't, it doesn't matter. It might be grilling out. But when you find people who love that thing as much as you do, it might be college football, and you're around those people, how much better is that experience? When you're playing on a team or maybe in your job or whatever the situation is, and you find people who will work like you will for what you love, how much better is that? That's what Coach Prime's looking for. And year one was always going to be tough. But let me remind you, you still have a winning record. Let me remind you, the over-under in Vegas was 3.5, and we've already beat that. And let me remind you, they're 2 wins away from a bowl. And they've got some very winnable games down the stretch. They also have a bye week that's coming at the perfect time. 2 weeks to work and get better and make sure that Friday night never happens again. Will they lose games? Yes. Coach Prime is not going undefeated for the rest of his time as a coach. I'd love to eat crow if that ends up being wrong. But will they learn from this? Will they move on from it? Will they get better? Will they move past it? Will they be a different team going forward? Will complacency set in anymore? I sure hope not. Will this be the thing that turns Colorado back the right direction? We'll find out. With any adversity, the way you respond to it is what's important. Yeah, you lost the game. That stinks. You could have lost on a last-second field goal. You could have lost on anything. Who knows? But you lost. Who cares? You move on. How do they respond? We appreciate you guys. We love you. We got so many comments on the post that we shared right after the game. It was hard. It stunk. It wasn't fun. But we took some time. We thought about the loss. We thought about how we wanted to talk with you guys. And we'd love to hear your thoughts as well. We're going to stay positive. We're going to keep riding with Coach Prime. I don't care if they lose every game the rest of the year. We will be here. And we're glad that you will too. We love you. We appreciate you. And thank you, as always, for watching the Prime Time for College Football.